So in this lecture, let's talk about Hugging Face. So what is Hugging Face? Hugging Face is the platform where the machine learning community collaborates on models, datasets and applications. Okay. So this is the official Hugging Face website. We will go there and see how we can create an account and how to get the access token. And we will also implement these use cases by using the models from Hugging Face, and we will also learn other open source models like LM Studio and Olama. Okay, so first let me take you to this Hugging Face website. So this is the Hugging Face website. You can see here, this is the AI community building the future, the platform where the machine learning community collaborates on models, datasets and applications. You can see here we have 1 million plus models available inside this Hugging Face. So where we can see these models? So you have to go here and click on models, and here you can see these many models are available inside Hugging Face. Okay, so these are all open source models. So we can use these models instead of paid models. For example, OpenAI or any other paid models. Instead of those models, you can use these open source models from Hugging Face, right? I will show you how to use these models, but before that, let's create Hugging Face account and see how we can get the access token. Okay, so once you are on the Hugging Face website, click on this sign up, and then let's confirm you are human, right? So click on begin and then try to answer these. Click all the clocks. Whatever the question they ask, just try to confirm, and then you will be navigated to this huggingface.co/join. Then you have to provide your email address and password and click next. Okay, and then it will ask you to complete your profile, where you have to provide your username and your full name, and if you want to upload any avatar, that is optional. And then there are few optionals: your Twitter username or GitHub username, and then your LinkedIn profile or your home page, or what are your AI and machine learning interests, right? So all these you can just enter if you want, but otherwise those are optional. And make sure you check the terms of service checkbox and then click on create account. Once you click on create account, then you will get an email to confirm your email address. So make sure you confirm it. Okay, and then you will be able to log in and continue with your Hugging Face account. The instructions are pretty straightforward. You should be able to create a Hugging Face account. Okay, so once you create the account, click on login, and then here enter your username and password and click on login. Okay, so this is how it looks once you log into Hugging Face account. Once you log in, make sure you click on billing, and then here you can see access tokens, right? So click on this access tokens, and then here click on create new token, and then here provide any token name. You can give any name. So I am giving Hugging Face demo, and you can just leave these options by default and just click on create token, or you can select depending on your requirement. Okay, you can go through this and click on create token. So here you can see save your token value somewhere safe. You will not be able to see it again after you close this model. If you lose it, you will have to create a new one, right? So make sure you copy this token and then save it in your environment file or somewhere, right? Somewhere safe, right? Because you will not be able to get the same token again. So once you save this inside an environment file, you can access this token and make API calls from your project. Let me close this. So if you go to models, we have 1 million plus models, right? Remember, not all these models require access token. Access tokens are needed only by some models, and this is completely free, right? This is open source and it is completely free to use. You can use any model from this Hugging Face, right? And if you see here, we have 1 million plus open source models available inside Hugging Face, and this list keeps growing. And we don't need all these models, right? We can filter the models based on your task or requirement. Here you can see tasks, multimodal, computer vision, natural language processing, NLP, audio, tabular, reinforcement learning, and other, right? So depending on your requirement, you have to filter these models. So let me show you few examples so you will be comfortable to use these models from Hugging Face based on your business requirements. Okay, and you can easily explore all these other models that are available inside this Hugging Face, and you can see it's an ocean with tons of models, right? This is very easy. You just have to copy paste the code after selecting the right model depending on your task. For example, let's see, you want a NLP model, natural language processing. This is all about text, right? So let's say you want to do text classification. So let's click on text classification, and then here you can see we have 94,650 models available just for text classification. So you can pick any of these models if your task is to do text classification. And let's say if you want to do text summarization, then you have to click on summarization, and you can see we have 2,351 models available, right? Just for text summarization. And from here you can pick the model that fits your requirement. And here you can filter the models by trending, most likes, most downloads, recently created, recently updated, right? So you have different sorting options available, and by default it is sorting by trending. In general, we go either by trending or most downloads, and depending on your requirement you try to choose the best model from here. And it's open source platform, so some models are maintained with very well proper documentation. So now let's see how to navigate and see the model, right? For example, let's select this model, Facebook Bart Large CNN model. Click on this. Once you click on the model, you can see model card, files and versions, and community. Inside this model card, you can see the model description and how to use this model. And you also have this GitHub link, right? So you can go and see the code as well, right? So now let's try to understand how to use this model. So if you notice here, we have the code available here. Here we are trying to import pipeline from transformers. So transformers is a very important component or wrapper of Hugging Face. This transformers will allow you to interact with the LLM. And this pipeline is a function of transformers, right? And you know transformers is for language models. So if you notice here, we have the copy option available. So you can just copy this code and make use of this code, right? So in order to use Hugging Face, the first thing is you need to install this transformers, and transformers has dependency on PyTorch. And once all the packages are installed, then you can use this model. If you notice here, the task is summarization, right? That is what we are trying to achieve here. And our objective is to summarize this text by using this Facebook Bart model. Okay. So you can see the task as summarization and the model name. All these are parameters. And let's say if you want to try this model, you just have to click on copy and paste in your editor, either Jupyter Notebook or VS Code, whatever the code editor that you are using, you can just copy paste there. And here we are asking the model to summarize this article. So let me click on copy, and then now let's go to VS Code and paste there and see if this code is working or not. Okay. So this is the build generative AI applications workspace that we have used before, and inside my C drive I have created Hugging Face demo empty folder. So now let me add this folder to the workspace. So right click, add folder to workspace, and here I'm selecting Hugging Face demo and click on add and click S. So you can see Hugging Face demo folder has been added to our build generative AI applications workspace. Now let's try to create a new Python file, and let's save this as, go to Hugging Face demo, and then let's try to save this as sentence summarization, right? So that is the task we are trying to perform by using the model from Hugging Face. So this is the code and this is the model that we are trying to use from Hugging Face. So let's click on copy, and then now let's go back to VS Code and paste this code. Okay, and now click on save. And if you notice here, this code is very simple, right? So let me remove this output. And what we are doing here, from transformers module, we are trying to import pipeline function, right? So you can see all the parameters that are available inside this pipeline function. And the first one is task. So for the task, we are passing summarization. And for the model, we are using Facebook BART large CNN model. And rest of the parameters you can pass depending on your requirement. So let me use word wrap so you can see the entire article here, right? So this is the entire article that we have, and this is what we are trying to summarize by using this model, and we are trying to print that here. And we are using the summarizer, and we are passing article, and the maximum length that we want is 130 and minimum length is at least 30. Okay, so let's try to click on run. So before we try to use the pipeline, first thing is we have to install transformers, right? So make sure you install transformers by using pip install transformers. Okay, so now let's rerun the code. Okay, so now you can see this is the summarized text. So we are able to use the model from Hugging Face and we are able to summarize the text, right? So let me close this. So what we did here, before we import, make sure first you install the required package, right? So we have to install this transformers module before we try to import this pipeline function, right? And once you import this, we are passing the task as summarization and model as Facebook BART large CNN. And this is the article. Here instead of this article, you can try to replace with any other content and then see if you are able to summarize or not, right? And here it is trying to use CPU, and instead of this CPU you can enable GPU and try there, right? Some models are memory intensive, so for learning purpose you can try to use small model and see if it is working on your machine, right? So you can see Hugging Face is very easy to use, right? And as per your need, you have to pick the right model and make use of the code. And if any code is deprecated, then you may have to upgrade your package version, that is transformers or PyTorch, right? And update your code accordingly. So now let me take you back to the Hugging Face website, and you can try exploring these different other models and see if it meets your requirement, right? And let me show you one other example. Let's say you want to convert text to image, right? So we have text to image option inside computer vision, right? So click on text to image, and if you see here we have around 76k models available just for text to image, right? And for example, let's say if you want to use any of these models, by default it is sorting by trending, right? So click on this model, and here you can see the model card, right? So it will explain what this model is about, what are the key features and how to use this model, and what are the API endpoints. And for this you have to install diffusers first in order to use this code. So like we saw before, you just have to click on copy and go to your editor and paste this code, and see if you are able to convert this text to image, right? And sometimes you may get memory errors also. Let's say if your machine doesn't have enough memory, then you might end up getting memory errors. So in that case, try to pick the small models and experiment, right? So now you understood how to pick the model depending on your requirement, right? Because for some organizations, security matters a lot, right? For example, healthcare or financial domains. In that case, paid models may not work. OpenAI or Claude Anthropic, right? So you can try to pick any open source model from this Hugging Face in that case. And these models are free to use, and you can implement your business logic by picking any of these models, right? So when using open source, think about accuracy, cost, and security. And then you have to pick your right model that meets your business requirement, right? So now you get the idea, right? How to pick a right model that meets your task. So depending on your task, you have to pick the model and try to experiment and see if it meets your requirement, right? And let's say if you want to do any courses, you can click on learn, and here you can see these are the free courses available, right? So you can explore more if you are interested. Okay. So let's quickly review what we learned so far. We understood what is Hugging Face and why we use Hugging Face, right? And how to create a Hugging Face account. And then we learned about how to get the access token from Hugging Face, right? And then we understood how to navigate around Hugging Face models and pick the right model depending on our requirement. And we also saw how to access the code from Hugging Face, and we executed text summarization scenario, and we were able to summarize the text, right? And we will see these remaining use cases in the coming lectures. Okay. So far we understood what is Hugging Face and how to create Hugging Face account and how to get the access token. And not all the models require access token to use. Only some of the models require access token. So depending on your model, you have to see if you need this access token or not. And we have also seen how to summarize a text by using the model from Hugging Face, right? Now let's see another use case, that is image understanding. That is, we will provide an image to the model and we will ask the model to explain us about the image, right? So that is image understanding project. So let's go to VS Code and see how we can implement image understanding, right? So let me go to VS Code, and inside our Hugging Face demo, let's click on file, new Python file, and let's save this as image understanding. The first thing is make sure you install transformers in case if you haven't installed already, right? Because we will be importing the functions that are available inside this transformers. Make sure you install that in case if you haven't installed already. So the first thing is, let's try to import all the required modules. That is, we are trying to import this request. This module is for request HTTP library, and then image from PIL, which is nothing but Python image library, right? And then we are trying to import blip processor class from transformers. So you can see the description here. And in case if you want to learn more about these classes, you can go to the documentation and try to explore more, right? So this is the constructs a blip processor, which wraps a BERT tokenizer and blip image processor into a single processor. So that is the intent of using blip processor. And then blip for question answering, right? Again, this is from transformers. So we are trying to import these two from transformers. And then the next step is, by using this blip processor, inside that we have a function called from underscore pretrained. So let's use that. We will get the processor, and now let's try to get the model too. So this is the model that we will be using from blip for question answering, and inside that we have a method called from underscore pretrain, and we are using the model Salesforce blip VQA base. This is the model that we are using for image understanding, right? And let's say we have an image. So this is the image that we are using from Google APIs, right? So let's try to use this image and try to understand this image. So let's store that image inside image underscore URL variable, right? And now by using this image, let's try to open the image. So here we are using request dot get, and we are passing the image URL and stream is equal to true and convert RGB, right? So we will get the raw image, and once we get the image, we can try to ask different questions and see if this model is able to answer or not. So let's try to ask the question. So this is the image, right? So now let's try to ask what is the color of the dog, right? So our question is, what is the color of the dog? And we already got the processor. So we are passing the image, and then what is the question? And now inside the model we have a method called generate, overrides generate function to be able to use the model as a conditional generator, right? So here you are passing the input and we are trying to get the output, right? So now let's try to print the output and see if you are able to get the answer. Okay, so print processor dot decode, and we are trying to read the output value. So let's try to save this code and run the code and see if it is working. So here you can see 10, right? So it is able to give us the answer for what is the color of the dog, right? So the dog color is 10. So the model was able to understand our question and it is able to give us the answer 10, right? Now let's try to ask another question. What is the color of this girl's shirt, right? Copy this same code, and instead of color of the dog, let's try to ask what is the color of the girl's shirt, right? So let me replace this question with what is the color of the girl's shirt, and then again for processor we are setting the raw image and the question that we are asking, and we are getting the output, and once we get the output we are trying to print it, right? So let me save it and rerun the code. So now you can see it is able to answer plate, right? So that is the color of the girl's shirt, and this is the color of the dog, right? So let me close this. So instead of this image, you try to replace with something else and see if the model is able to answer the questions or not, right? And where is this useful? For example, let's say if you want to buy the same color watch, let's say if your friend has this watch, and if you want the same color watch that your friend has, so take a picture and upload it to the model, and the model will understand the image and it will provide the recommendations for you to buy, right? So maybe a similar watch or an exact watch, right? So first the model should understand what is this image that we are uploading, and the image will be converted to text, and from that text the model will go to the vector and then search and it will retrieve the answers for us, right? So instead of these questions you can try to ask different questions. The model will predict the answers. For example, color of dog or color of girl's hair, right? And for example, let's say if you're not satisfied with this model's results, then you can always go to Hugging Face and try to explore different models and try to implement and see if it is meeting your requirement, right? And all these models are pre-trained models. If you want to know more about these blip models, you can go to Google and type blip model. So let me take you there. So this is the official documentation of blip models, right? So if you want to understand the model's architecture, how it was implemented, so you can see this is again transformers. You already know the transformers architecture: self-attention, feed forward, and the image encoder. And again here we're asking what is the dog wearing, and you can see cross attention, and then how it is finally generating the answer, right? So you can try to see the code behind this and try to understand how it is implemented, right? So all these are pre-trained models. Okay, so now you understood how we are providing an image to a model and then we are asking different questions, and how the model is able to answer for these different questions. So the model understood the image and then it is able to answer the questions for us, right? So what we did here, first thing is we imported all the required modules. This is the model that we are using here, and this is the URL. Instead of these models and URL, you can try to replace with something else and see if it is working or not, right? And then here first thing is we are trying to get the image, and here we are framing the question, and then we are passing the raw image that we got here, and then we are trying to get the output, right? And here we are trying to print it. So similarly for the second question, right? So this is how you can try to understand the image, right? So that is, we are providing the image to the model, and then the model will try to interpret the image and answer the questions that we ask about that image. Okay, thank you. So far we understood what is Hugging Face and how to use different models that are available inside Hugging Face, and how to create an account, and then how to get the access token. And we also saw sentence summarization, that is how to summarize a text by using the model from Hugging Face. And also we understood image understanding, that is we provided an image to the model, and then we asked different questions to the model, and the model was able to understand the image and answer the questions about that image, right? And then now let's see how to build the sentence translation pipeline using transformers library, right? That is, we will provide a sentence to the model, and then the model will translate the sentence to different languages. Okay, so let's go to VS Code, and let's see how we can build the sentence translation pipeline using transformers library. So let's go to Hugging Face demo, file, new file, Python file, and let's save this as sentence translation and click save. So like we did before, in case if you haven't installed already, make sure you install this transformer package. And once you install the required packages, the first thing is, let's try to use the code that will suppress the warning messages. Inside the transformers utils, we are trying to import the logging, and then we are trying to set the error level here. So that will suppress the warning messages. Now let's try to build the translation pipeline using transformers library. So first thing is, let's try to import the pipeline from transformers. So this is the function from transformers, right? So we also have to import torch. So here you can see the description. The torch package contains data structures for multidimensional tensors and defines mathematical operations over these tensors. And then let's try to define the model that we will be using. By using this pipeline function, here we are defining the task as the translation, and the model is Facebook model. This is the model that we are using, and the torch data we are setting to float, right? So that is how we define the translator. So here what we are doing, we are trying to load this model, that is NLLB, that is no language left behind. And if you want to learn more about this model, this is the model description, right? So you can go to Hugging Face and go to that model. So here you can see the model card, and this will explain you the complete description of this model, right? And you can click on files and versions. This will take you to the code in case if you want to explore more, right? So let's try to define the input text which we want to translate. My puppy is adorable. Your kitten is cute. Her panda is friendly. His llama is thoughtful. We all have nice pets, right? So this is the text that we want to translate to different language. Okay. Now let's try to translate this English text to Spanish. Here we are giving the source language as English and the target language as Spanish, right? And we are passing that to the translator, whatever the input text, and then the source language and the target language. And then now let's try to print this translated output. So let's save this code and run the code and see if this is working. So you can see the translated text is, this is the Spanish text. Whatever the text that we have given in English, it is able to convert to Spanish, right? And in case if you want to translate to different languages, so they have provided the documentation here. You can see the readme file, and these are the different languages, right? What is the language and what is the code that we have to use, right? We have seen Spanish, right? So for Spanish, SPA_LATN. And similarly, depending on your requirement, you can try to convert English to different languages, right? So there are tons of languages supported by this model, right? So depending on your requirement, you try to change this target language, right? So what we did here, the first thing is we install the required package, and then here we are just trying to suppress the warning messages. And then we imported pipeline from transformers and also torch, And the next thing is we created the translator by using this pipeline. The task is translation, and this is the model that we are using. And the torch type is float. And this is our input text. This is the text that we want to convert to Spanish. So we are using the translator and we are passing the input text, source language, and the target language. And then the model is able to convert this English text to Spanish, right? And in case if you have to change to different language, you can change this target language and see if you are able to convert this text to different languages, right? Whenever you use any model, the problem is it uses the memory, right? So try releasing the memory so you can load other models, right? In order to have enough free memory, let's try to import the garbage collector, and then let's try to delete this translator, and then let's call the function from garbage collector, right? So this will run the garbage collector and it will free up the memory. So that way you will get free memory and you can run remaining models. So this is how you can clear the memory. All right. Thank you. So far we learned what is Hugging Face and what are the different models that are available inside Hugging Face, and how to create an account and how to get the access token. And also we have seen these use cases: sentence summarization, image understanding, and how to build the sentence translation pipeline using transformers library. And now let's see another sentence summarization pipeline using transformers library. Okay, so let's go to VS Code. We have already seen sentence summarization, so let's do one other project. So file, new file, Python file, and let's save this as sentence summarization 2. So the first thing is make sure you install the transformers package in case if you haven't installed already, and then let's try to import this pipeline from transformers and also torch module, right? And now by using this pipeline function, let's pass the values for task as summarization, and the model that we are using is Facebook BART large CNN, and torch D type is equal to float. And now if you want to know more about this model, so let me take you there. So we have already used this model and we have implemented this sentence summarization, right? So this is the same model again we are using. Okay, so let's prepare the input text that you want to summarize. So this is our input text. We want to summarize this text by using pipeline function, which is from transformers, right? So we already know we have a summarizer function. For this we are passing our input text and we want minimum length at least 10 and maximum length 100, right? So this summarizer will summarize this text. So let's print the summary, and now let's run the code and see. Okay, so the model is able to summarize this text. So the device is set to use CPU, but in case if you want to use GPU, you can change it and rerun the code. Okay, so what we have done here, we install the transformers package, and once we install the package, we are trying to import pipeline function from transformers and then torch. The first thing is we are using this pipeline function and we are setting the task, model, and torch D type. And then this is the input text that we want to summarize, and we are using the summarizer function, and we are setting the input text and what is the minimum length and maximum length that we want to summarize this text, and we are trying to print the summarized text, right? So this is how you can build the summarization pipeline by using transformers library. All right, thank you. So far we learned what is Hugging Face and how to access different models that are available inside Hugging Face, and how to create an Hugging Face account and how to get the access token. And we have also seen these use cases: how to do the sentence summarization, and how to understand the image, and how to build a sentence translation pipeline using transformers library. And we have also seen another sentence summarization project by using transformers library, right? Now let's see how to do sentence embeddings by using an embeddings model from Hugging Face. Okay, so let's go to VS Code. Instead of VS Code, you can use any other editor as well. So click on Hugging Face demo, file, new file, Python file, and let's save this as sentence embeddings and click on save. Okay, so you know embeddings is converting to numbers. We know LLM cannot understand text, so we convert into embeddings. We have seen how to use embeddings model to create embeddings in our previous lectures, right? For example, when we implemented the RAG application, we have used Hugging Face embeddings, right? So by using these embeddings, we have created the embeddings and we used this model. Okay, so let's come back to our project, and there are already a ton of models available inside Hugging Face. Let me take you to the model that we will be using. So this is the model that we will be using to create the sentence embeddings. Okay, so this is the model card. In case if you want to explore more, you can come here and see the detailed description. Okay, how it was pre-trained, fine-tuning, and what are the hyperparameters and what is the training data, and everything is documented here, right? So the first thing is make sure you install this sentence transformers. Okay, in case if you haven't installed already, make sure you install this sentence transformer. And then here we are using logging module from transformers utils. So by using this, we are trying to suppress the warning messages, right? We are setting the level as error. And now let me try to import this sentence transformer class from sentence transformers module, right? We have already installed this sentence transformers. In case if you haven't installed already, copy this and go to the terminal and paste this and click enter. So that way you will be able to install this package, right? And the model that we will be using is all mini LM L6V2, right? So this is the sentence transformer model. And now let's define a sentence that we want to create embeddings. Okay, so here we are taking a list. The cat sits outside, a man is playing guitar, the movies are awesome. So this is a list of 3 sentences, right? And now let's create the embeddings. Inside this sentence transformer, we have a function called encode. So we are calling this function and we are passing the sentence that we want to create the embeddings for, and then we are setting this parameter to true, right? So let's try to print these embeddings. So let me close this here. So let's see if this code is working so far. So let's try to run the code and see. Okay, so it is able to create the embeddings. Now let's try to define one other sentence. So this is sentences 2. This is a list of sentences again. The dog plays in the garden. A woman watches TV. The new movie is so great, right? So again we created another sentence list. Now let's try to call the encode function to create the embeddings, right? So again we are calling this function and passing the second sentence list. Okay, now let's try to print this embeddings too. Okay, so we have created this sentence list embeddings and then second sentences list embedding. So we have created these embeddings so far. Now we need to calculate the cosine similarity between these two sentences list as a measure of how they are similar to each other, right? So we converted the sentences to embeddings and now we want to understand which sentence is similar to which other sentence. So in order to understand the sentence similarity, we need to use cosine scores. Okay, so let's try to import util from sentence transformers, and inside this util we have a function called cos underscore sim, right? So this is the cosine similarity function. You can see the description here. It will compute the cosine similarity between two tensors, right? So we have tensor 1 and tensor 2. Now we are trying to compute the cosine similarity between these two tensors, right? So once you got the cosine score, let me try to print this cosine scores. So we can see in the terminal, and then let's try to loop through. So here we are trying to get the length of sentence 1 list, and then we are trying to loop through and then trying to get the cosine score, that is first sentence from sentence 1 and then first sentence from sentence 2 list, and we are trying to get the similarity score, that is cosine score, right? So that is the cat sits outside and the dog plays in the garden. What is the similarity between these two sentences? And then similarly, what is the similarity between this and this sentence, and the similarity between this and this sentence, right? By using this cosine similarity function, we are trying to compute the similarity between these two sentences, and then we are trying to print the score here, right? So let's save this code and then let's rerun the code. So you can see the output here. The cat sits outside, the dog plays in the garden. What is the score here? 28, right? And a man is playing guitar, a woman watches TV. It is 3, right? And the movies are awesome. The new movie is so great. These two have highest score, that is 65. So that means these two sentences are similar to each other. So that's why we got the highest score here, right? Instead of these two sentences, you can try to replace with different other sentences and see if you are able to get the similarities or not, right? So let's quickly review what we learned here. The first thing is we installed sentence transformers. So make sure you install this in case if you haven't installed already. And then here we are trying to suppress the warnings, and we imported this sentence transformer class from sentence transformers module, and then util from sentence transformers. And here we are using this sentence transformer model, and here we define the first sentence list, and we are creating the embeddings by calling the function encode from sentence transformer, right? And then here we are trying to print the embeddings, and then here we are defining the second sentence list, and again we are calling the encode function from sentence transformers, and then we are creating the embeddings. So we are trying to print the embeddings, and then here we are trying to compute the cosine similarity between embeddings 1 and an embeddings 2, right? And here we are trying to print the cosine scores, and here we are trying to print cosine score between these two sentences. That is the first sentence from sentence 1 and first sentence from sentence 2. What is the cosine score between these two sentences, right? So similarly for the rest of the sentences. And we saw the movies are awesome, the new movie is so great. These two have the highest cosine score, so that means these two are similar to each other, right? So this is how you can calculate the sentence embeddings, and then use this cosine similarity function to calculate the cosine similarity between two tensors, right? So now you get the idea. We have seen different use cases, that is how to summarize the sentence and how to translate a sentence, how to create the sentence embeddings, how to understand the image by using different models from Hugging Face. Now you can explore more, because all these models from Hugging Face are open source. So depending on your requirement, you select the model and try to experiment and see if it is meeting your requirement. Okay. So you can see we have 1 million plus open source models available inside this Hugging Face. We have seen few models, and now you can explore more and see if these models are able to satisfy your requirement, right? So depending on your task, you try to sort these models and pick the right model and see, right? And we have the data sets also available here. So in case if you want to experiment any of these data sets, you can use them. And we also have spaces. So if you go here, you can host your own developed model if you want to contribute and make it available to others, right? So you can come here and try to upload those inside this spaces, and once it is deployed, then others can make use of your model, right? So this is the place if you want to contribute your own developed model, right? You can click on new space, and then you can make it available to everybody. And we also have the docs. So here you can go through different documentations, and we have enterprise and pricing. So that's all about Hugging Face. So now you get the idea. That is how to pick a right model depending on the task that we are implementing, and how to implement the code from Hugging Face, and how to read the model description, and how to see the code, right? So that's all about Hugging Face. All right. Thank you.